the obligatory Conan versus HeroQuest video. We're going to match the miniatures. We're going to check out the scale. We're going to check out the sizes. We're going to don't worry about this particular pair right here. This guy is just big. He's extremely large. This is the one we should actually be comparing. These barbarians are much closer in size. And we are going to compare the style of the HeroQuest miniatures versus the Conan miniatures. The mat upon which we are comparing our miniatures is Ian Schofield's Beautiful Dungeon Mats Broadsword Edition. Bit of a tribute scene from the Conan movie, 1984's Conan the Destroyer. It's hard to believe it's been that long. I mean, not hard to believe for me, but I was born in 84, so it's kind of like hard to believe that it's existed that long. We're getting distracted. I wanted to comment on the scale, and while I initially thought that the scale of the HeroQuest miniatures would be a little bit exaggerated, a little bit large in comparison to the Conan miniatures, I have found that this is only kinda sorta the case, with allowances that could be made for just differences in biology. You could almost, and I mean almost, kind of, sort of, say that HeroQuest has a 32mm heroic scale. Well, heroic is usually reserved for 28mm, rightfully so. The term was popularized because of 28mm miniatures that had exaggerated hands and feet. That's the heroic scale. But that's not to say that there can't be other scales of miniature that have exaggerated features and proportions. Still, that's not exactly a term that is popularized, so I'll refrain from saying it again to avoid confusion. But the reason I say almost is because not every single HeroQuest miniature is perfectly in scale and aesthetically matching to every other HeroQuest figure. So to the extent that HeroQuest miniatures themselves don't always match, you could definitely take a large selection of the Conan miniatures and match them up with the HeroQuest miniatures just fine. A great example being the barbarian facing off against this ape man from the Conan game. I don't know why I felt the need to specify that. You already know where he's from. Differences in biology. The difference in scale is negligible. The difference in style is really the most important factor here, as I think if you were to give the concept of the ape man to an Avalon Hill designer or sculptor, they would come up with something quite a bit different. I don't think that they would proportion the legs the same as the body and arms, for example. But I mean, it's not like I go to lunch with the Avalon Hill sculptors on the daily. I don't know what they would do. Now, in my opinion, I do think Valeria should look tougher than the HeroQuest elf, but that doesn't really seem to be the case here. I do really like the Valeria sculpt. I'm not hating on it in the slightest. And I mean, I guess she doesn't have to look that tough. After all, she'd be like, do you want to live forever? All right, let's talk dogs and wolves. The Conan wolf sculpts are fantastic. They look great on the HeroQuest board. You could easily have them be common enemy mobs, or you could go ahead and paint one up Mephiston red, have it stand in or proxy for Snow Dasher or any of the animal companion wolves. We've got a few more monsters that I want to look at, but I would warn you, though, that there are some differences in the sizes of the bases. Most of the Conan miniatures have a nice 1-inch circular base that fits squarely on any standard grid board, despite the fact that the Conan board game does not use such a grid, which is really nice. It's convenient. But like the wolves, these bases are a bit big, so there's a few things you could do here. One, ignore it and deal with what I call tile encroachment, the property of a miniature or its base to encroach upon other tiles, which may introduce some confusion as to the adjacency of entities in your game. 2, say that it takes up 2 tiles like every other wolf in HeroQuest. That would actually lessen the amount of tile encroachment, at least along one axis. You still got to deal with it on the other axis, but this really isn't going to be that big of a deal. 3, give the wolf a 2x2 space on which to sit. This is probably the most impractical. I wouldn't do it for the wolf. It's just not a very big entity. It won't really encroach on the other tiles, I don't think, that much to where this feels necessary. Anyway, last thing I'll say about the wolf, yeah, it looks like it belongs with pretty much any party of heroes or monsters in this game. The aesthetic is just really great. Conan versus the HeroQuest furniture. In terms of furniture, the HeroQuest furniture is already pretty big. It's pretty exaggerated. As far as scale goes, it is already technically too large, but if you play HeroQuest, you are accustomed to the HeroQuest furniture, and you probably wouldn't want to swap it out for any other kind of sculpt or furniture. At this point, you're like me and you've been psyoped into believing that it is the best furniture, it is the only furniture. Therefore, all miniatures, regardless of their slight differences in scale or size, look perfect with this furniture. Do you want to stare at the fire forever, Valeria? Conan comes with a number of hero sculpts, and some of them do look like they could stand toe-to-toe with the HeroQuest sculpts. Not in terms of quality. The Conan sculpts are really high quality. They've got a little bit more level of detail applied to them than the HeroQuest sculpts do. Would you please come into view there, Billy? Please. What are you doing? You know what? It's fine. I'll just continue on. But that doesn't mean that they all match in terms of size or scale. In some places, their proportions are just, hey, where did everybody go? Despite me saying that, I do think that these three miniatures right here are pretty well matched in terms of scale. You do have the elf in the middle, and she does look a bit bigger, but look at the faces, look at the head size on these miniatures. They are all very evenly matched, and the elf is wearing armor. This miniature is wearing the equivalent of a dish rag and a string of pearls. It can be kind of vague to see, but this mini is not nude, by the way. As far as scale differences go, they are virtually non-existent among these three miniatures. These would fit perfectly together in any size scenario. The difference lies mainly in the level of detail at which each miniature is sculpted. Now, I'm not saying that HeroQuest miniatures aren't finely detailed, and I'm not saying that they don't have small details. Actually, thinking about this just a little bit more, I don't think it is the level of detail that really strikes me as different. It is just the aesthetic choice. There are broader areas on a HeroQuest miniature, but I mean, as I stated, this miniature here, it looks like it belongs with the HeroQuest minis. All right, time to check out some of the big boys, some of the big monsters that come with the Conan base game campaign. The King's Pledge, at least, the ones that I got came in 2 different boxes. Forget everything I just said. Actually, these monsters came from the first box. I just confirmed the main box. Giant Snake. Jungles of Delthrak does come with a giant snake, and I don't at all admonish Avalon Hill's choice to go slightly more into the toy aesthetic with their design, but this snake just slaps. It is an awesome serpent monster. Now this one's a bit weird. It is a bit more alien-like in nature, a bit more buggish, a bit more Cthulhu-ish, a bit more crustacean-like. I don't think it matches the HeroQuest vibe at all, but that doesn't mean you couldn't place whatever monster you wanted on your board. It's your game. You should absolutely feel empowered to use any miniature to proxy any creature from any property and say, this is HeroQuest. It's just, if you are picky about stuff like that, and some people are, then you might not. Why did I end with the lion? The lion is the least dramatic thing from the box. Why did I save the lion for last? You know what? It doesn't matter. The lion is actually really cool looking, and check this out. You could go ahead and make an arena situation. I've got my ogre tiles elsewhere. I don't want to drag those out right now, where it's like, open the gates, and then the lion comes out of one archway and your barbarian comes out of the other, and it's a classic gladiator moment. All right, now it's feeding time for the lion. Okay, I was talking about design and aesthetic choices, and it really boils down to, do you think these miniatures here, these two specifically, would be in the same game? And I think the answer to that would be yes and or yes but. Maybe it depends on the paint job. Maybe it just depends on the overall feel of the quest that you're playing. And maybe this sort of thing doesn't bother you at all, and you can just put whatever miniature you want on your HeroQuest board and feel pretty good about it. In which case, you know what? I salute you. It's fine to do that. I think the thing that we are really all asking ourselves at this point is, will the dice HeroQuest? We've got 3 colors of dice in Conan, 3 blank faces, 2 faces with a single axe, 1 face with 2 axes. That's the yellow die. The orange die has even amounts of all 3 of these results: 2 blank, 2 single weapon, 2 double weapon. And the red die is 1 blank space, 2 single weapon, 2 double weapon, and 1 triple weapon, ever so slightly increasing the odds of a successful or strong attack. We could just use standard d6 as always to substitute the values on these dice, and say that a successful roll to hit starts at a 3 for, say, this barbarian and their 2 attack dice, while saying that 6 is a crit. But we can roll these 2 attack dice and compare successes with the goblin's defend dice. The goblin is already rolling yellows. This is already a drastically reduced chance of successes, but since it's defending, we can go ahead and say that the only successful defense is a double axe, because in HeroQuest, monsters only successfully defend on a black shield. Now, having said that, the barbarian has clearly outmatched the goblin. At this point, would you say that the matched values cancel each other out, or that the barbarian's strongest hit should be canceled out by the goblin's defense. Either way, it looks like the barbarian is going to attack. And then in this situation, would you say that the barbarian's attack completely connects with 2 body points worth of damage? I would. Or would you say that somehow this die detracts from this? I would say it does not, because we're following the HeroQuest rule, or the spirit of HeroQuest, in which a monster only defends on a roll of a 6 or 1 black shield. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a 6. You could say a roll of this one specific number. You got a 1 in 6 chance. Kind of an interesting concept. Let's go ahead and reverse the rolls and have our hero attack with yellow dice, have the monster defend with red. And if we say that using the red dice, the monster only defends on a roll of the 3 axes, well, we have the similar, identical results really, of the hero winning. Now, the hero's yellow dice in this case, we're really just transforming these into combat dice, so nothing really changes. It's 2 attack versus 2 defense. The goblin doesn't roll 2 defense, but I would like to roll more of these Conan dice in order to make a point. So we'd have to count the blank spaces as skulls and all that. Let's get rid of the idea of the skull dice, the combat dice from HeroQuest. I know, I can't imagine a world without them either, but just try. We'll go ahead and say that all blank faces on the dice are blank. They're misses, they're null, they're void, they don't count, they're nothing. Say that same value hits are blocked and higher value hits overtake the lower value hits after. Kind of HeroQuest style. And then yeah, this would be 1 body point of damage towards the goblin. Kind of weird, because the goblin actually has higher chance of rolling good values here, and that didn't work at all. The goblin got nothing. The goblin is toast in this situation, even though they're rolling the red dice. This is just a matter of luck right here. This has nothing to do with the values on the dice. The goblin is rolling very poorly with the dice that should have the best chances of defeating the enemy in their defense rolls. Let's turn the tables. The goblin is attacking now, and the goblin rolled 2 double axes, only one of which would be canceled by our barbarian, which means, as always, the goblin gets a hit in on the barbarian, embarrassing the barbarian player, who is usually me. That's it with this comparison, and I just want everybody to know that in order to store my Conan miniatures more effectively, I have divided them up into these Lego Dollar Tree trays. It's not a very professional looking presentation, especially when I put it back in the box. It doesn't look really pretty, and it really saddens me to have removed the trays altogether. But I'm getting to a point where I need stuff to fit in a box, and after I unbox it, I would like it to fit back into the box. It's a strange thing. I know, it's a strange demand. It's a first world problem. It's probably just me. When you unbox a game and you have like half an inch of lid lift, something tells me that something was wrong in the design phase. I don't know why I'm Vulcaning right now. But I thank you very much for watching. Comment what you need to down below. Surely you must have something. Go ahead, get it off your chest. I'll listen. I'm right here. And I'll see you in the next adventure. Bye for now, brave heroes.